Okay, it's a lot to fathom, and it can get fucking complicated, but it makes sense in the end if you understand your scripture and you fucking can put all the points together on the clock face that is your celestial dial. Is that not right? So, like I've gone over Kabbalah and your 10 sephirots on either side of 6 and 12, which is 666, 666, right? Sometimes the Kabbalah tree of life has 11 sephirots, including the center middle one at the very top of it, which would make it 11 sephirots, which would make 6 the kingdom, which would be right, would it not? Yeah, so you have the 10 sephirots, which is 1 to 5, 11 to 7 on either side, plus the kingdom. But why is it 666, 666? And why on the clock face is it east to west? East to west. It's quite simple, and you can prove it in your fucking scriptures. So most people would believe that 1 is the first hour. But in John 11:9, Jesus says there's 12 hours in a day. Is there not 12 hours in a day? Right? But when Jesus died on the fucking cross, right, he was placed onto the cross at 9. It got dark and fucking cloudy, and God showed his wrath, the beginning of his wrath, at 12. And Jesus died at 3. Did he not? It's written he was hung on the cross in the 3rd hour. So most people would say he was hung on the cross on the 3rd hour. Right? And on the 6th hour, the fucking darkness falls. Right? And then they would say that fucking on the 9th hour, Christ died. But we start down here, which is the kingdom. So that the kingdom is the 1st hour, which is 6. This is the right way of doing it. So they fucking say, right? So the 9th hour is what? The 3rd hour. And the 12th hour is the 6th hour. And the 3rd hour is the 9th hour. Right? So this is being the kingdom and all. This is where it all starts. Because up here is fucking Satan, Lucifer, the devil. Right? So 6 a.m. being the 1st hour, which represents the kingdom. Okay? By 9 a.m., which was the 3rd hour, Jesus was hung on a cross. And he loses his divinity. So divinity started to take away from him. Right? At the 12th, at 12 o'clock, which is the 6th hour, Jesus fucking basically is hanging on the cross, and God shows his wrath by turning the fucking skies dark and the clouds all go fucked up and everything, right? And then that happens for 3 hours later, which is the 9th hour at 3 p.m, by which Jesus dies. Alright? So it's 9 a.m. and 3 p.m, which is what? East to west. Because you have to put the fucking myrrh into the cave in the west for the death of him, and the fucking frankincense in the east. What for? For his divinity. So he lost his divinity of the kingdom that he brought into the fucking world, right, at 9 a.m. God's wrath happened at 12, and Jesus died, which is what the myrrh's for, at 3. Alright? So it's simply on the clock face, east to west is 9 to 3. It's as simple as that. 9 o'clock is severity or destruction. Right? 3 o'clock is mercy, is it not? So mercy seat and the severity seat on the Kabbalah. Severity to be severed. You know, he was severed of his fucking position of the kingdom by the people at 9 o'clock, was he not? The straight way is from 6 up. Not up to the fucking, Satan, Lucifer, the devil, but up to the mother. So we have the fucking 3 pillars of the Kabbalah. The middle pillar, which is the fucking, the straight and narrow way. And then you have the 2 other pillars, which is basically represented by the 2 men that were hanging on the cross either side of Jesus, which is severity and mercy. Right? And we're meant to take in life, to get back to where we are now, the middle pillar, the mild way, the lukewarm, not the fucking truly fucking hot or the fucking truly fucking cold. Severity is destruction. So Jesus come to his destruction in the severity. He lost his fucking, divine self because they hung him on a cross. And in front of the people, he looked what? He didn't look like he was in a good way. And he died at 3 o'clock, meaning that he fucking needed to fucking what? Be comforted in some way, because he yells out, oh God, why have you forsaken me? You understand? He comes the same way that he was taken, right? In Acts 1:11. As you saw Jesus go up, so the same way Jesus will come down. So if they saw Jesus go up, and the same way he's coming back is the way he come down, is the same thing. Alright? But it's the opposite. He's bringing his divinity into the world, and he's being born. He's not losing his divinity and then dying. Right? He's bringing his severity and destruction back into the world at 9, right? Which is the 3rd hour, only for all the shit to hit the fan, by God's will, in the 6th hour, which is 12, right? Only to be what we all expect, him to bring his mercy after all the destruction at the 9th hour, which is 3 o'clock. So it's the opposite, and it's the mirror. Do you get this? Does that fucking make sense? So east to west is 9 to 3 on your clock face. By the way that Jesus died on his fucking, cross, which is the clock face, that's written in your Bible. For as lightning comes from the east to the west, so is the coming of the Son of Man. He comes from east to west. And the other way, east to west. Because it's the fucking mirror. But it depends, like I've fucking gone over, on where you're fucking placing the clock face. So you could say that north is always, like I've told you, the fucking, liar. And it was always south. Because south is the fucking kingdom. And south is 6 o'clock. Or 6 a.m., right? Which is the 1st hour. The 1st hour is not up here and not up here. This is not the last hour. The last hour is down here and the 1st hour. Because like Jesus says, there's 12 hours in a day. Right? So this would be the 6th hour, is it not? As it is written, and as most Bible scholars would fucking tell you. So, severity, to be severed from your position, right? To be destructed, which is what he was when he was put on the fucking cross. And God's fury comes at 12, and then he dies at 3. Only for him to fucking what? His divinity to come back into the world, which is when all the children are fucking prophesying and we're all figuring all this shit out, only for God's destruction to happen because of all the fucking bullshit and fucking pollution and crap of mankind is fucking doing upon the earth at 12 o'clock, only for the Christ to be born, bringing the mercy, God's mercy back into the earth at 3. It's quite simple. Okay? So, as the lightning comes from east to west, so is the coming of the Son of Man. West is the waters of Dan, which is why, Dan received no fucking land. As it is written, the tribe of Dan received no land. They didn't weren't supposed to receive land because they represented the waters of the west. Just as, like I read in the book of fucking Adam and Eve, the forgotten books of Eden, that fucking Adam found his bitterness. West, the waters, is where Adam first found his bitterness, which is the sea, Mira, right? The bitter sea, the bitter ocean, Mary. It's bitterness. As he dies. He died. Just like Adam and Eve died. They died because they wanted their fucking, they got kicked out of the garden. And what did they want when they got kicked out of their garden? They wanted their fucking light back, their divinity back. But they had lost their divinity, and they'd lost their kingdom. And all they do after that is beg for God and beg for the Word to get their kingdom back. And their divinity. Because they'd lost their light. They'd lost their shine. They didn't know what had happened. They had died because they ate that fruit of knowledge. Right? And to get home to where they fucking could have the kingdom again and their divinity, they had a choice of 3 paths. They had the path of severity, they had the path of the mercy seat, the severity seat, and the middle way. Right? The middle way back to God's creation, which was perfect, which would happen by the Trinity, 6, 9, and 3. And he created with the Trinity, 6, 9, and 3, first the heavens, and then the earth. Right? But he did it with fire, earth, and water. Because Jesus was hung on the cross in the fucking, earth, and then he lost his water, and gave up his life, after water and blood came out of him when he was stabbed in the side, at 3 o'clock. 3 p.m., which is the 9th hour. Does this make sense? So this is why east to west is such and so. Now in Zechariah 14:4, it says, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east and of the Mount of Olives, shall split in 2 from east to west. Right? From east to west. Split in 2. So this splits out, and this splits out, leaving a valley from fucking making a very large valley. Half of the mountain shall move towards the north, and half of it towards the south. So there's a fucking valley, because it's splitting east to west. So fucking half towards the fucking, south, and half towards the north. So the valley is the coming of the Son of Man. And that's the whatever that's left after the destruction, when he stands on the Mount of Olives, when he comes back the same way that he fucking left. But what gets spewed out is the fucking earth and the water. The molten earth and lava and the gas and fumes of the water that's mixing with the molten earth and lava, obviously. Is that not right? So, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, then all of the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the sign of the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, and power and great glory, which is how he comes back, just as he left. But he left when God showed the destruction, right? So he comes back with the same destruction, but he's coming back to judge and make war because of the tribe of Dan. So when his divinity comes and is shown again, and we start seeing the signs of his return, then the destruction happens, and everyone's looking up at the fucking sky, saying, oh, here he comes, and they all want to hide under the fucking rocks and fucking hide their faces from God. Is that not right? Only for him to come back into the world, which is the opposite of how he died on the cross in the first place. Does that not make sense? His severity comes into the world. God fucking judges mankind with the wrath on high, and then mercy because he's done his job. Only for fucking Paul says that and we shall all be changed within the twinkling of an eye. Thank you.